unlocking the gate for the new Automax channel. It's a rare sunny day in Dolgellau, nearly as rare as some of the cars that we've got in here. Kia Picanto, you'll recognise that. Toy box full of cars in there. Might see some of those in the future. This is my filthy GC8, so don't judge me on that. I will clean it one day. It was actually really tidy at one point. Reasonably priced car, might see some more of that in the future. Maybe not with us, but you will see it. We're going to start off with where I started, really. So we're going to start off with the Nissan Micra K11. Best way to start rallying. Bomb-proof engine, loads of bits available, cheap and fun to drive. So that's what we're going to start with. Now I know this starts because I bought it and drove it on the trailer, but it's got a flat tyre. There's loads of little bits wrong with it. It'll definitely need bringing up to scratch before we actually rally it. So that is part of this series is going to be showing you what you need to do to go rallying, what bits you need, what regulations you need to adhere to, basically what preparation you need before you actually go and rally it. I'm going to put it in the workshop now, and then we'll go through a checklist. I can hear a fuel pump. She runs. We're driving on a flat tyre, but it sounds pretty good to me, to be honest. Let me introduce the car properly. This is 1996 Nissan Micra K11, 1.3. It's a K11, but it's pre-facelift, so it's the early one. So different grille, different lights. This is the same as the one I had, the one I rallied. Mine was yellow, but that doesn't matter. I've bought this as a project, so I bought this in this condition, so you're seeing it basically as I'm unboxing it. I went to view it, drove it on the trailer, and this is how it's come. So flat tyres, bits missing, mud, everything. It is how I've had it. So a few things that aren't standard. That is a Group A airbox. That's been moved, that's the washer bottle. Strut brace, these top mounts are rose jointed top mounts, so that probably means it's got decent suspension on it. I'm pretty sure it's got Bilsteins, but I'm not 100% sure. We'll have to jack it up and have a look. But these are polybushed, so stronger engine mounts. There's a catch tank there, which has been added on after. You've got to have a catch tank because you're not allowed to breathe. The engine's not allowed to breathe into atmosphere because it would be polluting. So all the engine's breathing, oil, bits and bobs, that all goes into there. Right, we've introduced the car. Now we're going to tell you what we're going to do with it. So the plan is, we've bought this car as it is, and we're going to bring it up to scratch so it can do a rally. We're going to bring it up so it complies with all the regulations, and you can just turn up and do a rally in it. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. We're going to go from buying a project rally car and go through the whole thing so it's ready to rally. Now I've got a list here that I make. This list I will put on screen now, and I'll put them available to download on our website. But this list, if you go through this list and tick every single box in that list, then this car will pass scrutineering and do a rally. Let's go through the list. This may take some time, so Chris, if you want to go and make yourself a cup of tea, I'll get on with the list. So we'll start from the top. Some of these are going to be pretty simple and you're going to go, yeah, well, obviously, but we're putting them on the list because we want everything on the list. So first, we need to make sure all the lights are working, obvious. Horn, you need the horn working. Wipers and washers working. Make sure all the fluids are topped up because they will check that you've got fluid in all your little reservoirs, your brakes and things like that. Seat and harnesses are tight. So some rally cars, you're in and out, changing seats, changing belts, things like that. So you need to make sure that they're tight. So just go around, nip them all up, make sure they're tight. Pull cables working. So the pull cables, I'll show you after. There's part of the safety equipment. So the pull cable, there's one for the fire extinguisher and there's one for the engine cutout. So you need to make sure they're both working. Seat and harnesses in date. The seat will have a date on it that will need to be in date. So same with the harnesses. Extinguishers, extinguishers come under the same bracket. They've got a date and they've got a lifetime on them. Film or perspex on the side windows. Protective film, so if it smashes, it holds it all together. It doesn't shatter into little pieces. You need an OK board in the car, which is just a little square OK board with OK on one side and SOS on the other. In case you break down or you have an emergency, you stick SOS out if you need the next car to stop, or you stick OK on the back, then the other cars that are passing you know just to carry on. First aid kit and belt cutters. Now I think first aid kits were not essential, but it is good to have one in there in case of an accident, or in case you need one, or in case another competitor needs one. So it's good to have one of those in the car. Belt cutters, always handy. You never know if you're upside down and you need to get yourself cut out. So make sure they are put somewhere where they're easy to access. Spill kit, that's essential as well. You need a spill kit in the car in case you have a problem with leaking fluids or whatever. You need to protect the environment, so put those down. You need a fuel sample pipe, especially if you've got a fuel injected car. The scrutineers will need to be able to sample that, so you need a fuel sample pipe somewhere. Warning triangle, that's again part of the OK board thing, so you put your warning triangle a little bit further up the road, a few hundred yards up the road, so that another competitor can see that there's an issue ahead. So keep one of those in the car. You need 4mm mud flaps all round. So you need 4 mud flaps and they need to be 4mm thick. Check your intercom and battery because you don't want to be halfway through a stage and your intercom fail. Toolkit's quite handy to have, so put one of them in the boot, just some small tools, zip ties, things like that, just to keep you going if you need anything. A jack, a wheel brace and a nut gun. Nut gun you don't have to have, but a wheel brace definitely. Keep those in the back with your spare wheel and all your equipment there. So if you do need to change a wheel on stage somewhere, you've got all that with you. Tow rope is always a good one. If you break down or you get stuck and you need towing out, it's good to have your own tow rope. Don't rely on the safety crews to use their tow ropes. Use your own. So have that wrapped up in the back, easy access, and make sure all the towing eyes, which are here somewhere, there's one there, make sure they're highlighted and you know exactly where they are. I've got here spare auxiliary belts for a long event. I mean, that is something that can get stones or twigs and things can pull your auxiliary belt off, so it's good to have a spare one in the car somewhere. That's when your toolkit will come in handy as well. Fan temperature, so you need to make sure that your fan clicks in. Obviously you don't want your engine overheating because the fan's not working, so just make sure that is working. Sump and tank guard fitted. Rally cars, most race cars have to have those fitted because one, if you damage your sump and pour oil all over the environment, that's not a good thing. And also, if you hit your sump and pour oil everywhere, then that's the end of your rally. So you need your sump guard and a tank guard fitted. You need to make sure your wheels are torqued, drive shafts torqued, fuel pumps working, noise level. Now, most cars, competition cars, they have to adhere to a certain noise level. They're not allowed over a certain amount of decibels. You will be tested before every event by a noise checking. There'll be a guy there doing noise check. So as long as you're within those decibels, then that should be fine. If you can check it beforehand though, or you think it's too loud, it's worth checking before the event because it just causes a load of hassle trying to do that before an event. Tyre pressures, just make sure your tyre pressures are all the same before you leave the event. At least then you know that it hasn't dropped any pressures or you haven't got any punctures. So the stickers need to be on the car, which is fire, electric cut-off and tow. Fire and electric will be on the bonnet, and then the tow is, like I said earlier, that will be on there and one on the rear. They need to be highlighted so that the crews can see it. Even though it's a rally car and it's going through the woods, your car needs to be clean. You don't want to turn up to a rally with a dirty car because it just doesn't look good. And it could be hiding problems. So make sure your car's clean. Make sure all the bodywork's intact because again, you don't want things hanging off. It's not very good presentation. You need the car presented like tidy. Roll cage padding is another thing. You need the correct roll cage padding in the car. It's normally you can't use, some people use plumbing pipe lagging, but you don't want to use that. You want to use the proper stuff supplied by roll cage companies or I think we got some on our website as well, so check that out. Make sure the car's taxed, especially if it's an event where you've got road sections. Make sure the car's MOT'd for the same reason. Make sure you got your MSA or Motorsport UK logbook in the car. Now I'll talk about those later as well, because there is two different types. There's the old style logbook, the MSA version, and then there's the new passports, which a lot of new cars have. And I think most cars now should have the modern passport on them. So I'll go through that in a later episode. Homologation papers, if it's an FIA event, you'll need those in the car. Best thing to do is to keep all the history and all the paperwork for the car, keep it all together and keep it with the car for scrutineering. At least then you don't have to go searching for it, or you don't leave it in a drawer at home. Keep it with the car in its own file. Some cars, turbo cars, they'll have a seal fitted onto the restrictor. So that'll be checked with an FIA little tag. So they have to be fitted if you've got a turbo car. Some one make championships, they'll have their engine sealed as well. So this car isn't a turbo, so we don't have to worry about that on the Micra. Then we've got rally kit, so you need your helmet, your overalls, your head and neck support system for the driver and the co-driver. Roll change certificate, that's quite handy to have with the car. Put that in your paperwork. So once you've ticked all those boxes, I've got another section where it says road test. So you want to take your car for a road test. First, have a general look around the car, make sure there's nothing hanging off, make sure there's nothing out of order, and then go through the basic stuff. So go up the road, check your brakes are all right, check your gear changes are all right, check it's steering straight, because if not, if you haven't tracked it, then you'll remember to track it because you wouldn't have ticked the box. Make sure the clutch is feeling all right, there's no noise, there's changing gears are all good. Make sure the handbrake works. Now maybe not on the main road, I don't think that's allowed, but you could do it on some private land or something. And then if you've got a differential or an electronic diff, make sure that's working. Most trips now are operated by GPS, so you might not need to do this, but if you haven't got a GPS trip, then make sure your trip's calibrated, because your co-driver will need that. Cheers, Chris. Right, so we've gone through the list, so we know what we need, and you know what you need if you buy something like this. But again, I'll make those downloadable, or DM us on Instagram or something, and you can, or even like and subscribe. I'm supposed to say that. Always make sure your pins are closed as well. Even if you're in the middle of working on your car and you close the bonnet, make sure your pins are closed. Because I've been down the road before without my pins open. Could be expensive. Let's put it up on the ramp, and we'll have a quick look underneath. Good thing is, it's got a nice big sump guard on it. So we need one of those, and someone's welded these little protectors here to protect the bolts so they don't get smashed by rocks. So it's quite a nice little bit, that. Exhaust is an aftermarket exhaust with a few sleeves on it, so quite easy to remove. Tank guard looks like a tank, but it's actually a fiberglass cover molded the same shape as the tank. So that's quite good, quite like that. It's quite lightweight and it is a good bit of protection. Braided brake lines. What else have we got? So we've got some Bilstein shocks on the rear. I definitely know they're Bilstein because it says Bilstein on them. And they're yellow. We've got a disc back axle, which is pretty rare on a Micra. Not many of them came with discs on the rear. It's all pretty straight. It's a bit dirty, but it's all pretty straight under here. We've got no mud flaps, so we're going to need to buy some mud flaps, like on the list. What I might do is, I might whip a wheel off and we'll have a look what front suspension it's got. I know it's got coilovers, but I'd like to have a closer look at them. But otherwise, I'm pretty happy. Let's have a quick look. Oh, look at that. I've got a big crack in my socket. This isn't a very good quality socket, really. I don't know why I picked that one up. I've got plenty more over there, but maybe I'm going to use it anyway. I think my battery's running out as well. I can't actually tell what it is, but I think that is a Bilstein damper, or it could be a Humphreys of Oxford copy of a Bilstein damper. But it's very much like the ones I had on my Micra. There is no markings on it, but it is a good coilover. These are Revolution wheels. These are pretty good, 13-inch, quite strong. It's what a lot of people use on these Micras. But I think for gravel, this is what we'll probably use. We'll keep this wheel. But our first event, we might do like a single venue, which is like an airfield-based event, which will be mainly broken tarmac and a little bit of gravel here and there. So we'll probably use a tarmac tyre for that. These are a bit bold. Someone's burnt these out, but I think these are just a road tyre anyway. So when we actually do the event and do our testing, if we do a tarmac event, and I think single venue is probably If we're going to talk about doing your first rally, I think a single venue would probably be your cheaper option instead of a multi-venue gravel event, which are really expensive to enter. You could still enter that, but I think we'll maybe start the cheaper side of things and work our way up. So yeah, we will probably put some tarmac tyres on it, but maybe we'll go for like a really good quality, premium quality road tyre, just to keep the costs down, but also something that does the job. Or maybe like a track day tyre, something that's half road legal, because some of the specific rally tyres can be really expensive. And for what we want to achieve, we probably don't need to do that. So I'm going to put this wheel back on. I'm going to drop the car down. We'll have a quick look through the interior, because we haven't covered that yet. So we'll have a quick look through that. And then we'll talk about what event we're going to do. I think that needs to be done. Put that in the bin. Right, let's have a quick look through the interior of the car, because we haven't talked about that yet. As you can see, in a rally you will need a co-driver, but he cannot sit on the floor. He'll need a seat. So we'll need another seat. We'll probably need another driver's seat as well, even though there's nothing really wrong with this, except for the fact it's out of date. Same with these belts. White gear stick, they're always faster than the other colours, so that's quite good to have. Vertical handbrake. Now we've got all the fuses in here as well. That's quite handy to have, because a lot of road cars, their fuse boxes will be tucked under the dash and things like that. So if you've got them here, they should really be labelled, but we can figure out what they are. But if they're labelled and one goes, it's really easy to change if they're on the dash there. And then we've got switches for each bit, fuel, spotlights. We haven't got any of those on at the moment, but we'll try and get some. Yeah, fuel pump. We've got an interior light here, which is for the co-driver. You've got your relays here as well, so they're easy to change. Extra dials, because the Micra didn't really come with many dials. Like most of them were bog basic, you didn't even get a rev counter. But this one has a rev counter, so someone's had the top of the range dashboard fitted in this one. And then yeah, we got oil pressure and voltage and things here, just extra stuff, just to, you know, so you know what the car's doing when you're on a stage or on a rally. What else have we got in here? We're going to talk about fire extinguishers at some point. This is well out of date, so this will need to be changed. I'll go through that properly on the next episode, because the next episode we're going to go through all the safety stuff and all the stuff that we've bought ready to put in this car, the up-to-date stuff like the seats, the belts, the fire extinguishers. Yeah, and then basically we'll be able to go rallying from the next episode onwards. Not a hell of a lot in here really. Old bit of roll cage padding. We would have a spare wheel in there, so that's where that will go. But you know that, because that is obvious. Good roll cage. Make sure that all the welds are all good where the roll cage is sat. We don't want any bends in the roll cage, because that means it's been in an accident. So we'll have to go through and check all that. But otherwise, yeah, there's not really much to look at in the boot here. So I'm hoping that we've covered most things in this episode, and you've got an idea what our plan is. So that means if you like, subscribe and keep watching, I can do more of these. I can do another episode. I can do maybe other interesting cars. We're starting off with a Micra because it is where I started, so that is the idea. So let's see how this goes, and yeah, we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you for watching.